welcome back into another edition of the Wolves Athletic Show. I'm your host, Brian Kortz. Joining us via Zoom today, we have our head baseball coach, Kellen Walker. Kellen, how's everything going?
Hey, Brian, things are going good, man. Thanks to you and Deborah for having me on. It's been great seeing you with the other coaches and getting updates for the fall for all the student athletes and kind of what's been going on campus. Thanks, man.
And Coach, too, how's it been going just adjusting to, all the practices now? You've been having about a month under your belt here. How have the players and the coaches just kind of adapted to the new rules with getting used to wearing masks and socially distancing and still being able to get the workouts you guys need in to prepare for the season?
Yeah, it's been good. We're about 5 weeks in. We got a little bit of a late start, but we've been blessed with some really, really good weather, and our guys have taken advantage of it. And, we knew coming into it we'd be a little bit behind just with, the summer, not everyone playing, and a lot of guys not being able to get to gyms or consistently work out. But with the weather and our guys just jumping right in and, not really wasting any days, they've done a good job of catching up, and we feel like we're making progress this fall. So it's been good so far.
So I'm sure it was good for them to just get back on campus here and just be around not just you and the coaches, but their other teammates, because I think a lot of them were just missing that interaction, because you can only do a group chat so much or assume so much before you miss seeing your fellow teammates and being able to interact with them again.
Absolutely. I think guys were excited to get back to practice, but you probably nailed it right on the head. They just were ready to be back with their teammates and work hard with them day in, day out. And like I said, they've been doing that in practice, and Coach Metzger's really been doing a good job of helping them get back in shape. They've been working really hard with her 3 to 4 times a week, and there's a lot of work that went into this thing to get us back with Randy Lightham and all the work that she's done to allow us to be at this point in the practice. President Fuller, and it's just been great to have people on campus and people in classes, even though it is on Zoom, but people just trying to make progress and work hard and better themselves. It's been good.
When you think back to the spring campaign, of course, it didn't end like any of us thought it would. You just get the home set up with MSU Billings. We just finished that up, and then basically the season gets, cut short. You go out to Central Washington, you only get a handful of some conference games in there. So, when you think back to, what little bit you got to see, having them back now on campus, and, you get your 8 seniors back that decided to come back for another year. How big was it to get those guys committed to come back for another season with this team?
They've really been crucial just in helping us kind of get closer to caught back up. With not quite as much time, these guys have had a lot of information thrown at them, and just trying to get everybody on the same page with how we want to go about our business and how we need to work every single day. And having those seniors plus some other older guys has really helped make that transition and as seamless as possible, and helped us be productive this fall and take advantage of every day that we're able to get out and practice and be outside, and it's they've been huge.
When you think back a little bit to just the spring season overall, how much did you really gain as a coaching staff and as the players kind of picked up from that season? How much do you really take away from that season? As I said, we didn't get many games in, but how much did you kind of use that to analyze going into this coming season?
Yeah, it was definitely short. We only got the 12 games into it, but I think some of those guys got their feet wet playing at this level, and other guys maybe had been coming off injury and hadn't played for 18 months, and they were able to kind of get into the fire, so to speak, and compete. And so I think that eases, going into this fall, and, some anxieties, about guys and how they're going to be and how they're going to perform, because we at least got to see, even if it was a small sample size, a little bit of that. And, when the season ended, I thought the club was really starting to kind of turn a corner, just with an understanding of what it takes to be successful, and not just on the weekends when you're playing a 4-game set, but just with your daily work and your daily preparation. And those guys that kind of got a feel for that and really got bought into that, they're all the ones that are back. And then with the small class that came in, it's been a really, really enjoyable group to be around this fall. And I've probably said it 2 or 3 times now, but they've really taken advantage of each and every day that we've had to be together as a group.
And too, how much of an adjustment was it too, going from, you've had that same coaching staff guys have come back to kind of help with that transition. You had Podrats there for, a bit now, and you've had Grady Wood come back, and, Etheridge. How nice is it kind of having that consistent group of guys you've had, that have been around the program? They come back with the program, they stay around and, help the guys. How much has that been vital to, the success over the years with this program?
No, it's been, it's been huge, having guys that were successful here. I mean, Grady Wood was a D2 National Pitcher of the Year, went on to play professional baseball for a long, long time, and then Trevor Podratz was a special player as well, an All-American hitter, and he's been around the game for a long time. And it was similar with the previous coaches. I mean, they were here for a long time and had some deep roots in this program, and I think that's been crucial to our success over time. Is guys that are here for a long period of time and trying to keep that transition or the turnover from not being quite so much or quite so often. So having Grady and Trevor back this fall has been huge, and they've done a great job. Obviously, the workload's heavier for everyone right now: players, coaches, administration, all the way on down the list with protocols and trying to keep everything in a good spot. So they've had their hands full, and they've stepped right up and dominated all those responsibilities that they've had. So they've done a great job for us.
We've had so many players, over the years get drafted. Just a few years ago, right before I got here, 4 of the 5 players got drafted in the MLB draft. How much does that success help carry too when you go out on the recruiting trail? And you can mention all the strengths of this program of, hey, not only do we win all of our games throughout the season and we're competing for conference championships and regional bids, but we also have a chance to send our players to the next level.
There's a lot of really quality schools in the Northwest, and so being on the I-5 corridor, scouts are stopping by quite often and checking out some guys, and again, that goes back to credit to our coaches and the guys that have been recruiting and getting not only solid players but just solid humans here in our program that want to work every day and get better. And you put a couple of those things together, and it's a recipe for success. And if things match up, possibly a chance to play at the next level. But it's everyone wants to live that dream and have an opportunity to move on and keep playing. So that's not the number one reason why people are here, but having that possibility is obviously a nice little carrot to have just as you're going about your daily work.
With everything going on now in today's world, how much have you had to adjust with, more Zoom calls, not be able to see, maybe some of your student athletes, future student athletes play in person, relying more on film and just talking to other coaches? How much has that kind of changed your whole landscape of when you put together a recruiting plan?
Yeah, I mean, the whole summer we weren't able to get out, and that's usually what our summers consist of is camps and recruiting, and so it definitely slowed us down a bit. But as you mentioned, I mean, with today and technology and just being on the phone and talking to as many people as possible and watching a ton of videos and sorting through that, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot, and I think this early class next week are going to have some good pieces, and then everything's just backlogged a bit with COVID, so we'll be able to finish that up a little bit later in the year. But again, credit to Trevor Podratz and the guys that he's on and the guys he's been able to get committed. And we're excited about not only now, with the present, but just the future of Western Oregon baseball.
When we look at your background, you're an Oregon guy, but you went down to California to play, your collegiate baseball at 2 different schools. What was it about coming back to the state, and specifically Western Oregon, that brought you back here, to be the assistant coach and then eventually move your way up to being the head guy here?
Just initially it was a really great opportunity that Jeremiah Robbins presented to me, and coming up here and finishing school and just kind of getting my feet wet in college coaching. And, I just fell in love with this place and the community and the support just here on campus. I just kind of kept finding reasons to stay, and, all of a sudden it's 15 years later, but this is a special place, and one that I'm very blessed to be a part of, and hopefully can be here for quite some time.
When you came in as an assistant, the program was already trending definitely in an upward trajectory, and you just continued that as being the assistant and now the head coach. I mean, how much of that was, parting to keeping that legacy going and just wanting to keep the tradition being strong at Western Oregon that, year in, year out, this team was going to be, near the top in the conference and in the region?
When guys come here, obviously, they want to dominate in the classroom, but, I mean, guys want to come here and win, and we've done a pretty good job over the past years of being competitive, but there's a certain level and standard that we want to work at, and hopefully once guys are here for a couple weeks and kind of see what that looks like and what it needs to be, they get bought into it, and then they're going to continue to get better and develop and grow as people and players, and it's just kind of a positive cycle that we've kind of been able to put together. But it gets back to the other coaches and the kids that they're recruiting and bringing in and finding the right fit and kids that want to be here and want to work and want to better themselves. And, when we're able to find those people, we've just been super fortunate to have so many great people be a part of this program.
All right, Kellen, it was great catching up with you. We appreciate you joining us here on the show, and we look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
Hey, Brian, I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
And now we've come to our halftime segment here on the show, and this is something that both Deborah and I are really excited about. We've been searching all over to try to find some sports action. I know everybody else has been waiting to follow some sports action as well, and we think we found a good one. And for that, we turn to our very own Dustin Daniel with the call.
Welcome to the first annual Squirrel Derby, sponsored by your Western Oregon Wolves. Our teams today are playing for the elusive Acorn Trophy, and the field looks ready to harvest. Red team off to a running start. Oh no, black team starting on the asphalt. Here's the red team, and yes, that's red team with the first score of the day. Here comes the black team flaunting their own score. Here we go, red team moving to new ground. But looks like they're going to come up empty. There's the black team again, and looks like, yes, another score for the black team. Now red team on the attack. Will home tree prevail in this one? Oh. Red team looking, and there's another score for the red team, but wait, black team finishes strong and goes home with the win in today's first annual Squirrel Derby, sponsored by your Western Oregon Wolves.
And we move into our next segment here on the show. We're joined by head women's basketball coach Holli Howard-Carpenter. And Holli, we appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
And then Deborah's ready to show us here. We're actually socially distancing in the studio with our masks on. Good to see you, Holli.
Good to see you.
And so it's definitely a different world we're living in, but we're adjusting to all the new changes. And speaking of that, Deborah was out at practice here recently, getting some video of you guys practicing. How has that adjustment kind of been going with you and the team here over the past few weeks, just with the new rules and everything?
It's been quite a big adjustment. For the most part, we're just happy to be here. We've been stressing gratitude a lot. We have not been together since the spring, and so it's definitely been good to be here. There were some frustrating things in the first couple of weeks, but once we kind of figured those things out, got ourselves on a routine, I think we're doing much better now. I think the biggest adjustment is with the masks and not being able to fully express ourselves, or them being able to see my facial expressions or even hear. Communication is a big thing for us, and so talking and communicating, it makes it just a little bit harder with the masks on, but we're just thankful to be here.
I see you're always putting that smiley face emoji on your mask, so they always know you're smiling at them, right? So
Right,
you're
that's
happy to see them, see? Yeah.
That's what I should do.
But I've been, I've watched a few of the practices, and you can definitely tell, from early on, just how much of an adjustment it was, from wiping down the basketballs to, pods, playing different times. You couldn't really scrimmage, and it seems like now, as I've talked to our student athletes, it seems like they're getting used to it. Like we said before, they're really excited to just be here and participating. You can tell they're just happy to be out there with each other.
Yeah, I think the very first day when we had physicals, or actually the day we got tested and then had physicals, they were just so happy to be together, and we had to, remind them like, hey, we have to still stay 6 feet apart, and but they just were just seeing them see each other was really cool. But I think they're adjusting well. I think the hardest part, again, as coaches, just kind of altering drills to make it game-like when we can't go live. That's been probably the most difficult, but we're just being creative, doing a lot of shooting, doing a lot of, different things to get us up to where we need to be.
You think back to March, I said, of course, we were through our competitions by then, but you were still doing your, off-season regimen. Everybody's here on campus. Everything's normal. We get to the middle of March, everything completely shifts. How was that adjustment to go from, seeing the student athletes every day to then, of course, we're not going to see them for months as it turned out, to still, stay in contact with them and still be able to, get that message out to them and keep them, ready and working out, so that way when they came back to campus, they're ready to go.
Yeah, we started Zooms after spring break. So we actually found out, and everything was shut down like right in mid-March, and we were in our break at that point. And we usually have our mandatory 2 weeks off, and then we go to dead week, finals, and then spring break. So we end up usually having like 4 weeks to 5 weeks off. So this year, as soon as we got back from spring break, we started team Zooms. And so for us coaches, we had enough time to kind of figure out and navigate how do we coach basketball online. And we really just kind of gave some suggested workouts for them to do with what they had. I think that was the biggest thing. We were very limited in the beginning on what we had access to. So some people had nothing. The players who were here in Monmouth, we basically, handed out jump ropes, bands, tennis balls, cones, anything that we had. We just kind of divided it up, and then we sent out weekly suggested workouts. And then Coach Metzger did a lot of body weight circuits for them, and we really worked a lot on our mental side of the game. So we have what we call our pillars of success, but it's basically just our team core values. And we really kind of went back to those and tried to revamp those a little bit and talk about where we needed to be better. And so that was a good break. We needed that to focus on the non-basketball side of it. So we did Zooms all through June, and then in the summer we didn't do them as often, but we sent out summer packets with things that they could be doing on their own to prepare for coming back, which we didn't know what that was going to look like at the time. So yeah.
When you think about recruiting, of course, before, the whole shutdown happened, you'd already had, a lot of your class already signed, which was, fortunate as it looked ahead, with the early signing class you brought in. And so, how much has recruiting changed? Obviously it changed drastically from, March when you were able to go really see a student athlete play. Now it's limited to more, YouTube videos, watching them via Zoom, talking to them, kind of interacting. We just started to get some back on campus here where you could see the student athletes come on tours again. So how much was the change was that, going from where it was recruiting before to now getting used to what it is now?
I think watching games online was completely different. Coach Katie Girton and I, we love recruiting. We love going out on the road and watching games in person. A lot of the games that we normally watch are here in the Portland area. And so we love that change of pace from going from season then to to the spring season, and then we get out, travel, and go recruit and watch players. And the one thing that was the hardest was really being able to get a good evaluation from film. Sometimes the live streams just weren't working. You can't really tell so much the level of the opponent. So that was kind of difficult. We're in a situation though with our roster. We have 15 on our roster and only 2 seniors. So it wasn't, we weren't in panic mode at all, which in a year where maybe we were looking to sign 5 people or replace 5 people that had graduated, that would have been a little bit more stressful. But we were in a situation where we only have 2 seniors, and so that took some of the relief off. And we just watched almost every weekend. There was something going on. The first, I think it was July, it was pretty dead, but then August really picked up. And like I said, just not being able to see the things you normally see in person. So, when somebody subs out of a game, how are they interacting with their coach? How are they interacting with referees? You can't really tell the physicality from film or, online streaming. So those are the things you can't really tell. But again, we were in a situation where it didn't hurt us too much in the recruiting process. However, the 2021 class, now with the NCAA giving everybody their years back or their eligibility, my heart goes out to the 21 class because I feel like there's not going to be as many opportunities for them. They had limited opportunities this summer to play, and then now limited opportunities. So I wish the best for them.
You think too, your coaching staff, it's been one of those where, you keep it in-house a lot, which has, been really nice. You see players that have played for you end up staying on staff. Like you mentioned, Katie, she's still on your staff. You had Shelby Snook serve as the GA for the past few years. Jasmine came through as a former player. She's now our compliance director. So, how is it nice to kind of see, the former players, go on to not only help you as, your coaching staff, but go on to be very successful, whether it's here at WU or in other professions.
Yeah, when I first got here, Katie, I had coached her when I was at Chico State. So to me, having somebody by my side, my right hand person, my right hand woman, she does a lot for our program, and to have her be here with me every step of the way has been really. I'm really thankful for that. And then each year we added somebody new. Our first year we had Nia Bravo as our graduate assistant, who played for me at Cal State East Bay. And she stayed in the area. She's now working in, she started off as school-based mental health counselor in the Monmouth and Independence schools. And she's still in the area, up in Portland now, still working in social work. And then Micah Walker was also then our next GA. She is now a special ed teacher at Monmouth Elementary School. And then we have Shelby. She's still around, and so it's nice to have people that are still in the area and who we can still connect with and we can still count on. Once a wolf, always a wolf, and so we keep in contact with them all the time. Dana Gallarde, who is now up at University of Portland, and she did so much for our program, so for her to be close and be able to, touch base with her as well has been really nice.
All right, well, Holly, it's been great getting a chance to catch up with you today. Of course, best of luck whenever we do have a season, hopefully here in the spring, and we look forward to chatting with you again there when we have some games to chat about.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope it's sooner than later.
And we close our show with our fact checker statement, and for that, we go to Deborah.
Our first true or false statement today, Brian, is baseball players. 5 of them were drafted in 2018-19.
This one's actually true and false, Deborah. We actually had 4 drafted, and a 5th, Gabe Benavidez, signed as an undrafted free agent with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And next, women's basketball. The highest field goal percentage is held by Dana Goulardi at 47.9%.
Yes, that stat is true, an incredible 47.9% by Dana. We saw her on our top 10 plays of the decade just a few weeks ago.
Moving on to our final true or false statement. The Squirrel red team had black tails.
I mean, come on, Deborah, how can we tell? It looks like everybody had the same tails out there, right? It was all for fun.
I think they were all gray squirrels, but if anybody in our audience wants to, email or call us and let us know exactly what kind of squirrels those are, we'll do a correction on the next show.
All I know is that was the first of many squirrel games to come, I'm thinking. I think this is a hit going on, Deborah.
We'll see. Time will tell.
And that concludes another edition of the Wolves Athletic Show for the month of December. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you again next month.